Welcome to part two. In this part two, we'll be covering more from the societal perspective. How we can connect with indigenous systems that, which is a treasure hold of who we are as human beings from the Indian continent perspective. Here, my next question, what is coming up is right when you are talking about social experiment and everything, dealing with blue collar, dealing with unions. Definitely, you would have seen lot of failures than success. This is coming from my assumption, right? So, your take on seeing failure and then converting that into success, or learning from those failure and then leading towards that success. Your take on that, Deen.
I think it's a very interesting question you asked. Um, my view on this union, all union leaders are outstanding managerial leaders. Why is a union leader? Most of us don't go into the root cause of why somebody becomes a union leader. Why is that? While the management has given an appointment order, management has taken them. Why people go to them? There's a leadership capability in them, and somewhere when we are on the role called HR, we look at the union leader as India Pakistan. I think that's where there are going to be interesting. Well, as a HR role, you are supposed to negotiate. You are supposed to do a collective bargaining in those days of unionized environment. You have a role to play, but that is a role. There's nothing called personal animosity against each other. But most of us have gone into this personal animosity, including the color of the shirt. I can tell you, there are some companies when if you wear a red shirt, you uh, say some. So what we start forming opinion or this unconscious bias, somebody makes a little extra noise, then let us sideline him. Is there a way to? So one of the great union leader whom I interfaced was by name on Mr. Gunashekaran, and there was violence. They went into jail for 175 days, and we had to terminate. And I had to fight with my MD that at least 5 people we should take back. 17 we terminated, 5 people we should take back. And the Gunashekaran was one of the whom I wanted to take back. And MD was very clear, nothing doing, we can't take back. And then we used a very innovative route. I had a very good mentor by name T.S. Gopalan. He said, no, let us go and talk to the MD, saying the 17 people whom we punish, we will send the entire inquiry proceedings to a retired High Court judge. We will ask him to see whether the punishment is proportionate to the dismissal. The offense is proportionate to the dismissal. And we chose a very, very well-known judge known for ethics. And I was confident that he will say at least 50% of the people you should reinstate. But to my misfortune, he said punishment is proportionate and all the 17 to be. So I was totally shattered. Mr. Gopalan said, don't give up. Then we went to the MD. We said, at least these 5 people, let us not take them back. Can we create an entrepreneurship opportunity of subcontracting some of the products which we are making? But we are able to convince. I think in early 80s, union leaders as entrepreneurs. So 5 of them, then we made the board to come and inaugurate, and they become entrepreneurs. So sometimes what happens is in our process of business negotiation or employer negotiation, we should not treat them as enemies. So my rub off with most of them. So now what happened is everybody today in manufacturing says you should work around unionless organization. If you had to work on unionless organization, nothing wrong about that statement. Why people are going to union? Their aspirations are not met. If you can find ways, because in a pyramidal organization, there are limitations in aspiration, meaning the growth curve. So what is limiting these people to grow up? One is absence of education. Second is absence of exposure. That's how the self-managed team gave that concept. Can we integrate on the job management education, a mini MBA, whatever you call it. Second is rubber stamp them with a branded degree. So for me, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Bitch Pilani, Geetam University, all of them supported. Okay. So that also resulted what happens if I'm a blue collar employee, I might have learned leadership and all that, but my own peers and my own organization, my own bosses continue to look at me as blue collar. And that was the greatest learning I had in Dr. Reddy's when, as a consultant, we started doing. After 7 years, their own internal growth, when it came, they were not willing to look at them as leadership material. Competition came and hired them as managers, as assistant manager quality. Then some of them are rehired by Dr. Reddy's, and then the chairman of Dr. Reddy's even speaks about it. We did not know the power of so because our unconscious bias treats blue collar as blue collar, white collar as white collar. It's not that white collar is always great and blue collar. So for me, that was a great learning. When look at every time the person in the context, not when we join. But most of us look at people when they join. Because many people evolve in the context. And if we create the environment for evolving, I think there is a chance of addressing aspirational growth.
That's fantastic. So, basically what I'm gaining from here is like going to the root cause of the problem, right? Instead of looking at it at the surface level. Yeah. And, something that you said about unionizing, right? Unionizing is happening because of some unmet, aspirations, right? Where the expectations are either not understood or understood, but, not really, given any focus by the management. Yeah, it could be either way, right? Or neither it was not communicated well or not taken well. It could be any of the reasons, depending on various organizations and industries, right? So understanding that unmet need and then see what can be done, right? So that's where again unconscious bias, again, ego plays a major role. Yeah, when I'm seeing different departments working together, that is a part of not only in leadership. I'm seeing it everywhere. Yeah, at the bottom level to the top level, right? Another, the second perspective, what I'm, gaining here, this is something I also, mention it in my, wherever I go and have conversation. Different departments, whether it is blue collar or, white collar, within that blue collar, there may be different functionalities, similarly within the white collar. They may be working in parallel, but there are places where they integrate and then again deviate, right? So working parallel, integrating, deviating, everything is important to achieve that big picture, whatever the objective of the organization and everything. So whenever they need to work in parallel, there should be a parallel path created, right? If in case of any integration needed, if that is not properly integrated, then there is going to be a problem, right? Then that leads to some failure. So that is also coming up, so clearly when you, mentioned about why certain unions are, working in certain way, why this, how this unconscious bias is playing a, critical role here, right? How each employee is seen from where they started their journey, right? Maybe, management or the other parties, other stakeholders, they miss to see how the person is, evolving, how each group is evolving. If they look at these people from the, initial day, lens of initial days, the problem is going to be there, whether union or not, right? So.
Now, another great learning I thought I should share is what happens. Most of us have this silo mindset as we become leaders. Okay. Structurally, the organizations don't facilitate job rotation. Okay. See, the moment we start, when I say supervision, less ownership at bottom of the pyramid, if you prepare an enablement chart and also maturity chart, it's not that day one everybody will become mature. It will take time. What can be done in 3 months? What can be done in 6 months? We start. Then what happens is your grassroots gets little more able to deliver the knowing and doing job. It's just not the doing job, the knowing and doing job. then the leaders' time is little more available. Can we rotate them 2 plus 2 plus 2? And recently I learned from Vedanta, which is a very good learning I had with Vedanta. No manager is in the same role for more than 3 years. They are rotated in 3 locations, 3 products, and 3 functions. Then the siloless. See, if I'm an engineering manager, if you look at 90% in manufacturing, I'll give more manufacturing examples. Engineering manager would have never worked in production. So the conflict between engineering and production happens. Similarly, quality. Quality is one of the most important functions. No quality manager has worked in production. 99%. But the interappreciation happens if you have worked in production and moved to quality, vice versa. Otherwise, the quality manager may be right from his perspective, but he won't empathize with the production manager. The moment I'm not saying you should short circuit or compromise. The moment you empathize, you probably find a better solution. So the siloness in most Indian organizations is we consciously build siloness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now that, we were talking about failure and then, how silo mindset is kind of creating challenges in the current Indian, ecosystem. And, as I've been hearing all the stories from your earlier days, when you were 24 till today, and we were talking about failure, success, and multiple other areas of, demystifying leadership. That fearlessness or the courage, right? So whenever I talk, it could be about communication or anything, right? There are 4 organs have to work in synchronization. Our heart, of course, heart, brain, and then the lungs as well the gut. Yeah, we were talking about risk, right? Without that gut, risk-taking ability is going to be a great challenge, right? So especially now that AI is coming in, and everybody's talking about AI, digitization, and Gen AI and everything. The challenges are going to be very, very high. The failures are going to be, more compared to earlier days, right? So here, the gut playing a role.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What is your take on that, Dean?
Okay, I'm going to give a little off-the-cuff example. This is again last 4 months experience.
Okay.
I'm working with the snake catching community, irrelers.
Okay.
Okay. I met 2 of this snake catching community and members who got Padmasri. So I was a little curious for what they got Padmasri. I'm going to link this to AI and whatever you said that. They were taken to Florida by Ram Whitaker, who is the person who built this Madras crocodile bank. He took them to Florida to demonstrate their skills on snake catching.
Oh.
The entire Florida forest department, scientific community, all that, these people are quacks. And we don't trust them. And this, they can't speak English. They were very upset when Ram Whitaker translated what they were sharing there. And these 2 rulers said, so let them say whatever they want. Let them give us a test. We will demonstrate our skill. Which the community agreed. The Florida scientists and the forest department of it. They said, show us 3 clusters. We will not go inside the forest. We will just observe the cluster. And we will tell you what snakes are there. The first cluster they went, they observed for an hour or 2. They said, in this cluster, we have python and tortoise.
Okay.
Second cluster they went. So in this cluster, there only python, no tortoise. The third cluster they went, there's no python, no tortoise. Okay. And then the scientific community went and used all their technology, or whatever you call it, and all that. And they honored them. They're publicly honored. It's on the Google if you go and search. After that, government of India gave Padmasri to them. So this is called intuitive knowledge. Okay. The movement of the grass. If python goes, how the grass will look like. If cobra, see, these are something which is beyond our. I'm now working with them to find out the traditional. For example, they are into venom manufacture extraction and supporting anti-venom manufacture. 80% of venom requirement are given by these snake hatches.
Okay.
But, they don't take anti-venom.
Oh.
They live with snakes. They're bitten by snakes. They don't take anti-venom.
Oh.
So they have a traditional practice of eating some leaves that protects them, which they don't want to share. That's a different issue. But there is something which is an intuitive knowledge passed on. Okay, now we are trying to see how we can document, do all that. But do we value that? Even for when Florida honored them, government of India gave them Padma Shri. Look at every tribal. If you go to Kalinga Institute of Social Sciences in Orissa, 42,000 tribal children are in one campus, studying from KG to PG.
Okay.
And in India's Olympic, 20 of them participated. Every year they participate.
Oh, okay.
Talent, we are not tapping. Our education system is simply curriculum, English. We have such traditional knowledge, and all these are marketable products. Okay. And it will create economic wealth for us. So, somewhere artificial intelligence, machine learning are all related to certain set of business activities. But India is a subset of the global power. So, we are all going to become again British on a different thought process. We are going to be economically colonized on some of these aspects. But why don't we market our product? Why don't we market our ingenuity? So this is something which I feel our intuitive intelligence is more stronger than AI.
Absolutely.
And that too more in the rural areas with the traditional people. Probably if I had to put a simple example, my grandmother is more intelligent than me. She may not have a degree, but our supply chain knowledge is far better than whatever we talk about inventory management or whatever. So our filters of seeing people through academic qualification. Today, of course, EY says no qualification. Google says no qualification. But why are we not? Today, look at any biodata. If I have money, I can shine it. I can use a Shine or a Naukri or a. So the biodata don't indicate what you are. In fact, I tell people, at least HR fraternity, when a biodata comes, throw it in the dustbin. Look at the human. Look at his success. Look at his failure. We learn a lot from the failures. Do we look at the learnability? But somewhere within the 30 minutes, are we really doing selection or collection? It's always a question mark. And we are wasting our energies by not tapping the right talent. And of course, brand adds value to it. So we go to a branded institution. I must give an interesting example. A lot of people are talking about diversity. And some of the manufacturing locations are remote areas. They bring state-of-art best college girl students into the remote area.
Okay.
First 6 months, because of the brand name of the organization, they stay there. After they leave. So I was asking one reverse question. There's a college in your own environment. No, but this college has no standard like that college. So, but why as industry, why don't we make this college that standard? Don't you think we have that? Then the chances of that girl staying there is going to be there.
Absolutely.
So somewhere, we also are putting filters in our, instead of building the local capability, we are trying to import capability. So this is something, and Ola was a great experience when Ola started the all-women factory. Within, you will not believe, they started manufacturing within 4 weeks of training of these girls who do not know the spelling of scooter. So what is happening with AI, technology, robotic? Most of the skills are gone onto the, it's just how do you handle it? So it's no more skill related. How do you manage the process?
Manage it, absolutely.
But our thinking is still in Taylor's model of job description and all that old way of looking at things. We are not contextually changed, is my humble submission.
Absolutely. So in fact, it is making me think like, okay, so what can I do to, safeguard that indigenous, so the root, whatever we have learned as a part of our experience, right, our learning process and everything, how to safeguard that. Of course, AI is important, technology is important, everything is important, but how can I safeguard that, that indigenous knowledge or the treasure that all communities in India,
Any part of it,
right?
No, look at all our ancient buildings.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Go to Hampi, and I don't think any engineering architecture can do that today.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or the Tanjore temple, which has no
Tanjore.
foundation. Anything, the Qutb Minar, if you look at that, it is not resting.
Absolutely.
Somewhere, okay, it's all past parade, but have we internalized that engineering? Have we internalized that is something which is, we are
Absolutely.
not done a reverse engineering.
Absolutely.
In pharma, we do a reverse engineering on a contract manufacturing. But our own ancient architecture, we have not done a reverse engineering. How did they do it? What can we do it differently?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which is a great opportunity.
Absolutely. So here, one more, probably final question from my end, Dean. Right. So you also mentioned that, okay, see, technology is there, yeah, everything is there. But what is keeping you so passionate about that route, that indigenous system? Now, I see that you are working across, it could be states or the industry, but I see the pattern here is going to that route.
I do not know how I can answer that question. Probably I've been fortunate to have leaders who supported me. For example, my boss, this is about girl child empowerment, I must talk about this. He passed, he died a month ago. Mr. Samsing, he was a managing director of DuPont. He lived in 60 years in US. And every time he says, whenever they talk about India, they only talk about a boat tragedy or something bad happening about India. Nobody talk good happening about India. So he felt he should do something about it. So he went back to his village, started an NGO called Pardada Pardadi. You can go into the website. Pardada Pardadi would mean in Hindi, great grandmother, great grandfather. Even one I spoke about grandmother, he spoke about.
Okay.
You go back to the root, do something what you can do. For example, you ask me what is my root, I don't know what's my root. But he knew what is his root. And he went to the place called Anupshire in Bulandshire district, where girls are not allowed to go to colleges or schools.
Okay.
Now you go to the school, what he has run. The first slogan you see in the school, no girls' school has a slogan like what he has put. In a place like Uttar Pradesh, in a place like Bulandshire, you have a right to choose your husband. The highest degree of empowerment. But when he started with 14 girls, the entire community opposed. And he has to travel in a bulletproof car. Okay. Today, 3,500 girls are studying. I brought 100 of them to Bangalore for higher education. And his vision was something totally different. He said, if future mothers are empowered, country's prosperity will go. So if you look at India as a country, we are not harnessing the women power. For whatever reason, feudalism, whatever. Even the so-called organizations who are talking about diversity, 90% of line managers, I can very confidently say, I can be quoted, don't want women in the shop floor. So this is the mindset with which we are working. So when you ask me this question, why? We are wasting talents. When we are wasting talent, at least can I make a difference to a drop? Whatever we are doing is a small drop in the ocean. But at least we can make a difference to the drop. But the concept I'm talking, not many people will not accept also. I've had challenges. Okay. I could have made more money by just following what others do. But I believe I'm making more money than money, which I'm very happy about. We can't need money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so beautiful, Deen. What I'm seeing is kind of you have been consciously respecting the human being, sitting within you, right? And not letting that human getting affected by whatever is happening outside, right? Even in case of any, disturbances here and there, since you are the, any time ready student, some master appears and then, guide you, take you to
the guru comes. I don't know how the guru comes.
Absolutely.
And the Gurukula, what my Milt told me, see, a Westerner is able to see Indian Gurukula. We are not able to see that. If you look at Mahabharata, the Dronacharya trained all people. But one was good in archery, another was good in...
Absolutely.
So, but by what? Servant leadership. If you really look at servant leadership, all the disciples had to wash the feet of the Guru.
Absolutely.
Had to do all dirty jobs. Today, that so-called dirty jobs. Okay. Yeah. But today, that becomes a social issue. But our learning happens if we start doing all that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, my school in my hometown, right? It was built by my mom and, all her friends, because she was the previous,
Okay.
past student, right? So they all, used to carry all the bricks and everything while, along with the workers, right? In fact, I used to, when as a part of my batch, right, we used to clean our classrooms, with the broom, and
And
we used
today,
to
if you
keep
do
it
that,
clean.
there's a social
Absolutely, absolutely. So
big
even
noise.
if my son is asked to do some work, right, I'll go and fight with school, right? So this is how mindset has changed, right? That day we were proud of cleaning our classrooms. My mom is still proud of, what, I took those bricks, in which you are sitting and studying. This is how she used to call the school as, right? So it's a beautiful, beautiful conversation. In fact, I must say that I'm inspired to do more at the root level, right? I know I'm really inspired to at least start taking the first step towards doing something at the root level. I'm sure whoever is listening to this conversation will have certain thoughts triggered. Yeah. Action might follow, but first that awareness has to be created. My intention here, my humble intention here is to bring in that awareness, right? By having conversation with leaders like yourself, right? The humbleness is what is coming out so clearly, so loudly, I would say, right?
I don't know
The
that,
silence
but
is
we can't make a very big change, but I'm sure we can
absolutely,
make a small change.
absolutely some awareness. 1% improvement is it's what the concept that I believe in, right? So definitely, it's a beautiful, beautiful conversation. We were, talking at the root level. I have huge takeaways that now I'm going to think on, okay, how can I get that into action, right? Unless I take that action, it will stay as, just conversation, right? That is the thought which is something that you triggered in me. Of course.
Pleasure.
So thank you so very much, Deen, for your time, valuable time. Amidst the seminar that you're attending, you pulled in 1 hour and then having this conversation with me.
This is
I'm
also
so humbled.
the tribal welfare department, the various NGOs. So
Okay,
I thought this is something I could share some of my experiences to them, plus learn from them.
absolutely, absolutely,
In fact, we learn more than giving. So
absolutely. Very true, very true, very true, very true. Thank you so much, Deen. So I
pleasure.
look forward to more
Thanks a
conversation.
lot.
Thank you so much.